Good evening, good evening, good evening. It is Dr. Katrina Esau, the creator and founder of Whole, Wives Healing Openly, Leaving Him Exalted. And I just wanted to pop on for a few minutes just to kind of talk to you a little bit about the price. And are you willing to pay it? Are you willing to pay the price? And the reason I wanted to talk a little bit about this today is because I often, I coach women. Women come through the academy. And just let me take a step back for those of you, this may be your first time tuning in or listening or finding one of my videos. Um, I am Dr. Katrina Esau, and I actually work with other wives that have been impacted by infidelity. I created the academy for wives, specifically those that have made the decision to stay and to fight for their marriage. And with infidelity and cheating, it's akin to trauma. And so there's a lot of different things that I like to call the side effects of walking through it that you have to go through. It comes with it takes a beating. It beats against your emotional and your mental well-being. It's revelatory because it shows you who you are. It shows you, what you thought was that isn't. It gives a lot of insight into not only what happened in the marriage, but a lot of times it takes us back to childhood traumas or things that happened to us as children that begin to form our paradigms and shape our mindsets. And that stuff comes out when you've been traumatized, and going through cheating is very traumatizing. And so I created the academy because I wanted to help others to know that there's peace and joy on the other side. I walked through my own bout 17 years ago now. And it's a journey. It's a journey. I'm on the other side. I'm healed. My marriage is restored. I'm helping other people. But as I often tell my girlfriend, one of my closest friends, I always tell her it's not a destination. Even though my marriage has been restored and I'm in a much better place, I've learned the tools and the strategies. It is a continual awareness, and that I have to keep doing the work. I have to keep, safeguarding my mind. I have to safeguard myself. I have to safeguard my union and my marriage. There's different things that I still have to do, just to maintain where we are, and to maintain, the healing and the restoration, and not to allow, things of our past or what somebody says or how they judge us to cause us to derail. So that's the first thing, is I want you to know that it's not, don't think of it as a destination. I talk to women all the time, and it's like, oh, well, I gave my husband 6 months, or I gave him a year. And if I don't see any change or any progress, then I told him I'm out. We're getting a divorce. And that's not really, I don't encourage that type of ultimatum or that type of mandate. And the reason being is because there's a lot that has to happen. And you can't be so focused on what he has to do. You have to focus on your part. What do you have to do? What do you need to change? What are some behaviors that you need to eradicate? What is the evidence, of your bitterness, of your unforgiveness? What things are deeply rooted and grounded in you that you have to confront, that you have to identify, and that you have to conquer. And the thing about it is even though a year or 6 months comes and goes, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be in a place where everything is going to be wonderful. And what I mean by that is, even 6 months from now, a year from now, there's going to be a thought, there's going to be a trigger, there's going to be a memory. And the question is, how are you responding to it? Because we can't necessarily dictate what thoughts come, but we do have control over how we respond to them. And if you're in that place where you are truly healed, there should not be a negative emotion tied to your response to that trigger. And so I'm getting off subject. That's not what I want to talk about today. But I just wanted to share a little bit about me in case this is the first time you are encountering me. And so today, like I said, I wanted to talk a little bit about the price. Like, are you willing to pay it? And I ask women this because people come through the academy, they sign up, and, maybe they do 4 or 5 months or whatever. And life happens to all of us. And so either women decide that I don't have the time or the capacity, or they continue to pay and don't do the work. And I don't want either. I would rather you walk through and prioritize yourself. I would rather you make the investment in you, and not just be paying for something that you're not getting. I want you to get results. I want you to have tangibles that you can take away and say, hey, you know what? When I came into the academy, I felt this way. But now that I've come in, I've taken some courses, had a couple meetings, I no longer have this response to that action. That's what I want. I know that it's an ongoing process, but there should be some tangibles that you can take away where you can say, well, I'm responding differently. That's my goal, is that you respond differently and that it begins to shift and to transform your mind. And so when I talk about pay, I hope you haven't already shut me off. It's not just about money. The thing about it is, with when you're walking through your healing and your restoration, cheating has a way of pummeling your emotional well-being, your mental. And so there's a payment across multiple areas. When you have a dream and a vision of healing and restoration, it's going to cost you something to get there. It's going to cost you relationships. And what I mean by that is, maybe you got to cut some folk off. So you got to cut negative Nancy and sabotage and Sam. You got to cut them out your life. You have to look at, are people multiplying? Are they adding, or are they subtracting? You have the ability to delete people out your phone book. You have the ability to unfriend people and unfollow people. You have control over what you allow to come into your ear and your eye gate. And so there are some relationships, even family. And I'm not telling people to go around and cut off their family members. Do not misquote me. What I'm saying is, if you have family that you always love to be around, but they are always negative, they are always tearing your relationship down, they're always telling you what you can't do and what you will never be, you don't need to subject yourself to that. That is mental and physical abuse, and you don't have to do that. So I can love you from afar. I don't have to have you in my face every day to love you. And so that's what I mean by, there's a price when it comes to relationships, that you may have to cut some people off. And it may be pricey, because now I need to build relationships. I need to make the investment to build relationships and make myself available and surround myself with people that are positive, surround myself with people that are encouraging me, that have like-mindedness, that have maybe even been through a similar situation and have come out on the other side. And so they can show me, although we each have to walk our process out, and what happened for me may not happen for you, but there are some very basics and some consistencies across all experiences. And so you can take out, as my mom used to always say, you go eat the meat and spit out the bones. So take and glean what you can. So it'll cost you in that way too. That's the positive and the negative in terms of relationship. It's all also going to cost you mentally. I mean, it really costs you mentally, because when you have been cheated on, you're constantly thinking about, what you could have done differently. What did I do wrong? What did he not like? Could I have lost weight? Maybe he asked me something, to do something in the bedroom that I wasn't really comfortable with doing. So maybe if I would have said yes, he wouldn't have went outside. You have all these different things that vie on you and pull on you from a mental perspective. And then mental goes with the emotional costs. Your emotions, you're up today, down tomorrow. You have to do the work to make sure that you are bringing your emotions in check, not allowing your emotions to lead and to guide and to dictate, what you do and how you do it. Spiritually, it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you because you need to get into the word. You need to build your relationship with God. It may challenge your beliefs. It may challenge, your relationship with God. I know when it happened to me, I was devastated because I consider myself God's favorite, and I didn't understand how he let this happen to me. I didn't understand why I had to walk through this. Like, why me? Why are you allowing me to be hurt? Why are you allowing this man to treat me this way? I'm worth more. I'm valuable. Why did you let this happen? And yes, I say, why did he let it happen? Because I know and believe that everything that happens to me has to pass through the sovereign hands of God. He has to give the okay, Job. He has to say that it's okay to go this far, but you better not touch this. He has to give that okay. And I didn't understand why he would allow that. So it cost you spiritually because it challenges you. I was mad at God. I was angry at him because he allowed it until I got the revelation and got over myself, and so it's going to cost you spiritually, it's going to cost you emotionally, it's going to cost you mentally, it's going to cost you physically, in terms of the things that you have to do. You have to prioritize you and your healing and doing your work. You have to make sure that you are at the top of the priority list, which I always cover when I talk about self-care, because so many times we're at the bottom. We got to take care and do everything for everybody else. And then the day has spent and you don't have time to do anything for yourself. And so it's going to cost you in that way. It's going to cost you financially. It's going to cost you financially because I don't know what's going on, under your roof from that perspective. But it's also going to cost you financially because it's one thing to, do something on your own. But sometimes you may have to make the investment into a personal coach. You have to make the investment into counseling. You might have to make the investment into taking courses. You have to do what you have to do to make sure that you get to that whole and that healing and that wealthy place. When I walked through my situation 17 years ago, I had to pay for a counselor. We had went to counseling at our church. That didn't really work for us because you don't tell the truth and the whole truth and nothing but the truth, because you don't want people judging you. So you only give them surface stuff. So if they can only deal with what I tell them. So I had to make the investment into a counselor because I was tired of my emotions controlling me. I was tired of my emotions making the decisions and guiding me. Emotions are fickle at best. And so I made the investment into a counselor to go and, yes, sit on somebody's couch and talk about it and get strategies on how to deal with these emotions and manage them. God gave us emotions for a reason. Yes, we need them, but they should not control what we do and the decisions that we make. So I had to get that in check. And so that was an investment I had to make. I invested in my spiritual side. I invested in listening to CDs and DVDs, and back then cassette tapes, which some of you probably don't know what a cassette tape is. But I made the investment into, Bishop Noel Jones. I made an investment into Creflo Dollar. I made an investment into Bishop Jakes. I made an investment to Joyce Myers. I made an investment into those that were speaking and feeding my spirit, because I needed to be strong spiritually so that I can fight the battle in the natural. And so if that meant going to a conference, if that meant buying a DVD or CD or whatever, I did that. I did whatever was necessary because I had to build myself up, because I had been torn down. And not that my husband ever beat me or talked down to me, but his action in cheating, his choice to cheat, it weighed heavy on me. I questioned everything I did. I questioned the way I look. I was at a place where I didn't like what was looking back at me in the mirror. I had to overcome that. And so it cost you. It costs you something. You can't just walk around and say, I want to be healed. I want to be restored. I want to fight for my marriage, but you're not willing to pay the price. You're not willing to sacrifice sleep to get up, at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, because you know that you have your day ahead of you. You have to work. You got to get the kids ready, and then you're going to school. You got all these things, but you have no time for you personally. And yes, if you're getting your education, that's for you. But a lot of times you're doing that to get a better job or what have you. But you have doing emotional work, the inside job. It's going to cost you. You're going to have to get up early or stay up late to do the work to uproot and identify what is the cause of different things. What are the barriers? What are the triggers? And the more you identify, the more you can strategize to overcome. And so it's going to cost you getting up. It's going to cost you, time to prioritize and to make sure that you find time in the day, not only to focus on you, but to focus on your husband, to focus on your marriage, and to focus on those things that are important to you. And if you tell me that it's important that I get healed for real, it's important that I learn how to trust again, it's important that I learn how to forgive. But then when I talk to you and tell you the different steps that you have to take, you tell me you don't have time, then that communicates to me that it's not important to you. You're not willing to pay the price. You're not willing to pay the price, whether that be financially, whether it be your time physically, whether it be mentally, emotional, spiritual. It's going to cost you relationally. If you're not willing to do any of the work, then we have to go back to what I taught before. Why are you doing it? Why did you choose to stay? Why do you say you want to be healed, but you don't think you're worthy of doing the work to get healed? What are you willing to pay? And these are things you have to ask yourself. You have to assess. The word says count up the cost. Count up the cost. So you have to count up the cost. What am I willing to pay? What am I willing to pay relationally? Am I willing to stop hanging out with my girlfriend that's always telling me to leave? Am I willing to get up early or stay up late because I know that I have to work to provide for my family, but I want to find some time to take care of me and to work on my self-healing and my self-development? Am I willing to pay the price to get into the word and start learning the scriptures and what they say about me, what they say about marriage, what they say about forgiveness? Am I willing to do that? Am I willing to make the investment into a counselor if I need it? Am I willing to make the investment into a coach? Am I willing to make the investment into the whole academy or to one-on-one coaching? Am I willing to do it? Am I willing to pay that cost financially, mentally, spiritually, physically, relationally? Am I ready and am I willing? What are you willing to pay? So that's it for today. I pray that you're encouraged. I pray that you think about it, seriously think about it. What are you willing to pay and at what cost? What are you willing to do for your own self, for you to be healed, for you to get restored, and for you to see yourself in a different light? There's a whole nother side of you. What used to be will never be again in your marriage. That boat has shipped, that ship has sailed, it's gone. And so you have to grieve what was, and then prepare yourself for what is and what's to come. Because the thing about it is your marriage will never be the same, but it could be better. I mean, God, when he restored my marriage, he didn't give me back that same broke down mess where, we weren't communicating properly. He didn't give me that, but he gave it back to me better. He gave me a marriage where we can communicate. He gave me a marriage where I love God more than anything. So, and because of my love for him, I'll never make decisions to get back at my husband on anything, because I realize now that it's not my husband that I'm sinning against, it's God. And so when he does it well. God does all things good. And so that is my prayer for you, is that you will seriously count up the cost and make a decision on what you're going to do, whether you're going to fight for you or you're just going to, ride the wave and do whatever and allow, just do whatever happens. And, it is what it is. And this is just the way it's always going to be. If you want to have that defeated mentality, that's a choice too. You can choose to say this is what it is. And I don't want to do the work. I'm tired. I've been tired. I've been fighting in this thing for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever. I'm tired and I don't want to do the work. It's okay. That's a choice. It's a decision that you are choosing to make. And so whatever decision you make, whatever choice you make, I just want you to be to a place to where you are okay with owning it. And then you're making sure that you've truly counted up the cost in terms of what you have to pay. Don't just always think dollars and cents. Every time somebody says payment, you turn people off because you think they're trying to sell you something. It's not about that, because you don't have to come to the W.H.O.L.E Academy. You don't have to, invest in yourself to hire me as a coach. You don't have to do any of that. I just care that you get healed and that you get whole, and however you feel comfortable doing that. If there's another way, if there's another person, if there's another method, whatever it is, do it. But get whole, get healed, find joy, find peace, take off the mask, stop hurting, stop crying yourself to sleep, stop saying, woe is me, stop feeling defeated, stop thinking it'll never change, you'll never have anything great, because the devil is a liar. You can have it if you're willing to do the work, if you're willing to pay pay the cost, to cut those relationships and to renew your mind, get in the word so that your mind can be transformed and renewed, that you can come up higher and see things from a different view. You can. And so that is my heart's desire, earnest desire for you. I pray that this is ministered to you. I pray that you've been touched, that there was something said that touched you in a way that to cause you to see things from a different light. I sincerely pray that. That is my heart's desire. And so thank you for tuning in. Again, I'm Dr. Katrina Esau, the creator and founder of the W.H.O.L.E Academy, Wives Healing Openly, Leaving Him Exalted. And I hope to see you again. Take care.